All right, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the first of two streams that I will be doing today. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Well, guys, we have another development in the ongoing drama of the hostile takeover of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. And I have a panel of esteemed guests here today that are going to help us break this all down and respond to what's going on. But before we do that, I want to get started by reading this letter that was posted last night by the national chairman, Joe Bishop Henchman, regarding the situation. It's a little bit long, but I want to read the whole thing and I want to get it on the record in the video, and then we're going to have a little chat about it. So last night at midnight, he says, colleagues, this past weekend, I was at the Libertarian Frontier Summit in Wyoming, where I saw elected libertarians and a thriving, growing community that is fast becoming what I know all of us hope the Libertarian Party could be. We are taking the lead on the ballot initiative. We've elected people, blah, 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 stuff that's not relevant to this. First, some context about New Hampshire. The New Hampshire Party has been recently taken over by a faction, group, caucus, whatever you want to call it, that has been making insane statements contradicting our platform and principles, that was trampling their own bylaws to purge opponents, and was openly planning to not even run libertarian candidates and instead support Republicans. Every single one of those things is a lie, Joe Bishop Henchman. Most egregiously, they even made a statement in support of a pro-Trump mob's actions on January 6th, which I regard as an extremely serious violation of the pledge we have all taken. All of this under the control of an individual who does things like tweet about how Black people have lower IQs and murdering trans people would be a good payoff for lower taxes. Not what he said, but okay, let's keep going. At a breaking point, and given the extremity of the situation, LPNH Chair Gilletta Jarvis determined that this blatant subversion of the party's purposes and lawless actions of the state committee had amounted to their constructive resignation. Little different than if they had gone out and endorsed Donald Trump or Joe Biden, basically. Thus, she felt she had no choice to reconstitute the organization as best she could with the people she could who still supported the mission of the party. Prior to that, Ms. Jarvis evidently anticipated a possible fight over control of social media accounts. She asked for, and I gave her, as I have given and would give any state party chair on request, a letter affirming her status as representing the affiliate of the National Libertarian Party, a fact which was not even disputed at the time. These letters can be and are accepted by the FEC, banks, insurance companies, and many others, and I have no authority to refuse to provide a state chair with one. Second, what did I know? I'm on the phone with state chairs, LNC members, donors, and activists for hours a day, and there were always 10 or 20 crises going on, some real and some imagined. I had heard for some time rumors and various reports that New Hampshire was headed towards some sort of schism almost on a weekly basis, and frankly, that didn't take any inside information to guess at. The ongoing fiasco was happening in full view of the entire LNC and the country. I note that several members raised the issue as concerned at the Chicago meeting and were told in no uncertain terms that the LNC should not intervene or even discuss options by people who are now demanding precisely that. Claims that I was some kind of co-conspirator are false. I do not, as LNC chair, tell state chairs and officers what they should do, but neither was I terribly surprised by what happened, and frankly, nobody on this committee should have been either. The details and timing, sure, but not at all that something like this was coming. Third, what should we do? The actions taken by the New Hampshire Party and its individual members and officers here were theirs to make, and the dispute is ultimately theirs to sort out. It is not our job as the LNC to impose our commands as to who should do what or work with whom or how this should ultimately be resolved. It is certainly not our place to adjudicate state party bylaw disputes. We have no such jurisdiction. Ultimately, if disputed states of delegates are sent to the National Convention, that's for the convention to make a decision on. Fourth, what do I think as an individual? I have been reluctant to share this because any of us rushing out to a personal position is at odds with the committee engaging in deliberation and sober judgment. But now that Ms. Harlows has poisoned the well with a kangaroo court interrogation of Ms. Jarvis, and wild public accusations have escalated the situation to make it an existential crisis, means we are past that point. So here are some of the tone I normally say for IRS attorneys or Republicans and Democrats. What's happening around Miss Jarvis is indefensible, untenable, and at odds with the fundamental principles our party stands for. I sympathize entirely with her immense pain and frustration at being held to blame for decisions that were being made over her objection. And now I know that she has been the subject of violent threats, as have I. There's no proof of that, and as a result has serious substantial concerns for her safety and that of her family. The people doing this to her are not merely misguided or having a difference of opinion. Their actions are evil. To be perfectly clear, there is no equivalence on that. Both sides are doing it. I cannot pretend otherwise. Do I personally think Miss Jarvis was wrong? It's not my place to decide, but as a former state chair, I empathize with the difficult position she was in. The reality is that our party faces a binary choice between two different versions and some very different, mutually exclusive principles. On the one hand, it's been called the takeover, but honestly, it is the destruction of the party as we know it, the end of the Libertarian Party worthy of that name. On the other hand, are libertarians from across the spectrum of party, prags, radicals, audacious, and even many Mises rank and file, who oppose takeovers and destructive messaging, and purging those who defy such demands and instead want to focus on building up the party and electing principled libertarians. And I have no problem saying, I am with them. And so long as I am chair, I will support them, because the alternative is not just bad for the party. It means the party becoming something I could not and would not support and would not tell others that they should support. Throughout this, I've tried to stay positive. I ran as chair, blah, 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 blah. That's the basic gist of the letter, because that's a long letter to read. But basically, Joe Bishop Henchman is siding with the people who mounted the hostile takeover. Now, for reactions, I have 3 members of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. I have Derek, I have Bill, and I have Dennis. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I basically just want to have an informal discussion about the letter that we just read and kind of what's been going on and where are we at. So has everyone had a chance to kind of read this letter since it was posted in the dark of night last night? Okay. What did we think of this reaction from Joe Bishop Henchman?
Well, I will say for starters, he called us evil. So that's pretty rude. Also, the first thing in that email that stuck out to me was when he said that there have been rumors for weeks about a potential schism coming in the LPNH. I'm like, I live in New Hampshire. I'm an active member of the LPNH. I didn't hear there's going to be a schism. So whoever's saying that is planning a schism. That's not coming from like the general membership as far as I know. And I'm pretty in touch with the general membership. Maybe not in close touch with everybody, but...
And, I'm membership and outreach committee, and I can say from working with everyone in that committee and working with the membership as a whole, I haven't heard anything about a schism or anything. I know people aren't happy about the messaging, but no one had ever even mentioned word about doing something as extreme as this. And on the topic of calling us evil, I mean, we have to recognize that he's calling almost half or more than half of the entire Libertarian Party evil. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Dennis, what do you think? I know you have opinions.
Well, I've been a member of the Libertarian Party off and on for about 38 years. And it's usually been something that I don't really get excited about. I remember going to my first meeting with my wife, and I was so excited because I had discovered this beautiful philosophy. I was like, oh my God, this is the party that carries that standard forward. And it was a bunch of wonks hanging out and talking about parliamentary procedure. And I was so bored. My wife was like rolling her eyes. And, we basically just weren't that interested. They were also mostly conservative and we were coming from the left. So I wasn't particularly excited about it. And I have to say that the energy that that has been in New Hampshire around the Libertarian Party the last year or so has been just fantastic. It's swept me up. I'm not actually a Mises Caucus person, but I have been so excited about it. I'm primarily an ethicist, so I find it very funny that Joe's talking about evil, right? I don't think he knows what that word means.
Well, I am a noob to this entire world, but for me, this is very, very simple. Gilletta left the party formed a new legal entity, named herself the head of that entity, and then stole all the social media properties and the website. And the website, which is technically owned by the National Party, and the National Party won't step in and give it back. Like, to me, this is like blatant. Like, you know, when I first met with Ben and Eric, one of the things they taught me about, like, the different platforms you guys have, and they said, like, private property. Like, if this is not theft of private property, then what is this? I don't understand.
I mean, he talks about how this group in New Hampshire has broken its own bylaws. I mean, I think that he's talking about himself, though. And he talks about how he's really concerned about electing principled libertarians, and yet he breaks his own rules. He breaks his own promises. He totally violates the members of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire by allowing this woman to take our membership rolls and give it to some other organization that our members never said. I mean, if you want to find people who are really concerned about security and privacy, look at libertarians. And now this organization that has no basis whatsoever, has no affiliation with the National Libertarian Party, has our membership rolls, all of our contact information, and I would think, and they're waiting for Joe Henchman to say, "Hey, give it back." And Joe Henchman has not said that. He says, "Oh, we can't really weigh in on this." What do you mean? Do the right thing and tell this unaffiliated, unauthorized, no bylaws, not voted on by the membership group, to give back the stuff that they stole. Simple. If you talk about principle, that's it.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to like the messaging that the LPNH was putting out via their Twitter account in order to do that.
So
yeah, that's a separate issue, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting to see the chair of the Libertarian National Party, when a document that he had signed was used to, I guess, subvert the intentions of the party. If this is a democratic political party and their goal is to get elected, like, somebody takes a document you signed, uses it to start their own club of 13 people, you think you're going to get elected that way? It just seems silly. So not only that, then he says, well, what should we do? And to me, it's very simple. Clarify.
Yeah.
You know, you could just clarify, but instead he sends this long email, which you couldn't even get through. It took you 10 minutes to read what you did get through. And he doesn't even clarify, was this his intent or not? And to me, you know, I think that's inexcusable for somebody who's claiming to be the chair, the representative of the whole party. You know, if he got elected because everybody felt like Joe Bishop Henchman was the libertarian of the country, essentially, and he's the chair, he's like the guy who represents us, who can speak for all of us and fairly run a meeting and all that stuff. Well, I think he's shown that he's not doing that.
Well, and you know, it's funny. So, you know, one of the things I like about you guys a lot is that everything is transparent. I can go and look at the message chain on this entire thing. And one of the responses he got was from Dustin here, who says, I appreciate this explanation. I'm not sure it satisfies me, but it is appreciated. I have one question, if you'll indulge me, though, Mr. Chair. Are you saying the LPNH chair used the letter in a way that you did not anticipate? Or are you saying that you intended for it to be used for the actions ultimately taken? I'm a bit unclear on that. I think that is a very good question, frankly, that I would like the answer to, because I'm going to be honest, up until like yesterday, even yesterday morning, I was not clear on whether or not Joe Bishop Henchman knew what Gilletta was going to do with the letter, because it seems as though Gilletta formed her new organization a couple days after he sent that letter. So I could see him sending that letter referencing the current Libertarian Party, but it wasn't obvious to me that he knew that it was about this new organization. Given this response and the absolute lack of clarity, I absolutely think he knew what was going on.
Well, also, Gilletta specifically said that she told him, that she informed him on the 6th and the 7th before this letter was written, what was going on and what they were thinking.
And even regardless with that letter, I mean, we are still affiliated with the LNC. So you can't really just take our stuff away from us and start a new organization. It still belongs to us as the affiliate. And until the LNC decides what they want to do, all that stuff belongs to us. And it's really hurting us operationally. I mean, we've got Bike Week this week, which is a lot of people visiting New Hampshire, and this is an awesome opportunity to do outreach. And then next week, what do we have? We have Pork Fest, the biggest gathering of libertarians in the region.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll just give you an example. I have tried for the last 2 years to get the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire up to Pork Fest and to do something big at Pork Fest. This year, for the first time, we have the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, really the Mises Caucus, I have to say, doing something gigantic at Pork Fest. They are a gigantic presence. They contributed so much to the formation of this Pork Fest in terms of ideas, in terms of speakers. I mean, they were just all over this, helping. You know, we don't have room for someone. They're putting people up, and I had to say, you know, look, we got to make these guys a sponsor because they're just giving so much. And here, the national, not the National Libertarian Party, but Joe Henchman supports a thing that cripples their ability to take advantage of this for libertarians, for the Libertarian Party. And I'm just going, how is this okay? How is this okay from a national perspective? That is stupid. That is bad marketing. That is poorly thought out.
Yeah, the interesting thing is too, you know, a lot of people come to PorkFest who are libertarians who are not in the Libertarian Party in any way, shape, or form. That's something I keep learning more and more of. And like up in New Hampshire, there's a lot of libertarians who are not in the party. Mm-hmm. And PorkFest is a prime opportunity to be recruiting people. So if our recruitment infrastructure is all down or in the hands of another organization, like it's just a massive snafu. I think it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, because tonight there's a meeting with the Libertarian National Committee. I think it's the executive committee. I'm not sure if it's the whole committee, but that's something that people can go watch if they're interested. Carlin, how familiar are your listeners with the Libertarian Party and philosophy at this point?
Oh, I mean, probably. Well, okay. So it's a little funny because a lot of my listeners, I actually think a lot of my listeners are more libertarian than they think they are. But the fact is that, I mean, you guys know this, like Jo Jorgensen, when the minute she tweeted Black Lives Matter, turned off the brain of about 90% of my listeners to anything libertarian related, because we are very against critical race theory. We are very against Black Lives Matter, the absolute Marxist organization. We're against all of this stuff. And I know that you guys are completely against identity politics too. So we align on that. But there is a disconnect between what people perceive as just like a small L libertarian and the Libertarian Party. And I have to admit that, you know, I had no intention of joining the Libertarian Party until I discovered the Mises Caucus, because this is the only libertarian part of the Libertarian Party that I can find. So I'm trying to get them up to speed on the different attributes of it, but I'm also still learning it myself, to be honest.
It's so true. For decades, I've seen people say, well, I'm a libertarian, but I'm not a big L, meaning Libertarian Party, libertarian. So I'm a small L libertarian. I believe in this beautiful philosophy of mutual respect, of consensual relationships, of voluntary action. I believe that is how we should treat one another. We should respect each other's bodies. We should respect each other's property. But the Libertarian Party, I don't know what the heck it is that they're doing or what they believe. And here we've had a movement that's been, it's a relatively new movement of these people coming in and saying, well, why don't we make these two together? Why don't we bring libertarianism into the Libertarian Party? Because the Libertarian Party has been kind of the group where the kids who were in college and they were part of the student assembly and they were making their motions and pulling out their Robert's Rules of Order and arguing and that type of stuff. Well, the really nerdy ones, the ones who turned libertarian, this is like their playground, and they think that it's absolutely fantastic. And they want to play with the Republicans and the Democrats, and they want those guys to respect them. And we're libertarians. They're authoritarians. They are not going to like us. And if you're playing this game, this party game, in order to have the other two parties like us, I'm sorry, you're not libertarian.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And I mean, it honestly really confuses me why the National Party like seems to hate like the Mises Caucus so much, because from my perspective, it represents like this Ron Paul libertarianism that got so many people excited when Ron Paul, I remember being very excited when Ron Paul ran for president. And then, you know, obviously that didn't go much of anywhere after that particular election. But I don't understand why they hate it so much. It's really simple. Like, don't steal my stuff. Leave me alone and don't steal my stuff.
Yeah, I mean that part of it is very straightforward. I think that people tend to want to collectivize or to get like a bigger popularity or bigger chunk of the vote with whatever the appealing like meme or trend or whatever it is. And as a group that embraces individual rights and the rights of the individual, and not collectivizing and not treating people based off of, if you're this group, you're this kind of person. I think it's very important that we stay away from, trying to peel off whatever the popular trendy meme is. So when people tweet something like Black Lives Matter, and you have people saying Black Lives Matter in the streets, burning down private property, it doesn't sync up well with what people are seeing. If you're the group that respects individual rights, and there's people out there destroying individual rights that are saying Black Lives Matter, it's just a bad move. And the fact of the matter is, human life matters, and what's the biggest detriment to human life across the globe? It's states. It's the state. They rob from people. They kill they kill people overseas in the name of free healthcare, right? They'll tell you, hey, we're going to give you free healthcare. We're going to raise your taxes by 30%. We're also going to increase the number of countries we're bombing. And those things go hand in hand, and the healthcare doesn't get freer. Nothing is free. The fact of the matter is, everybody has to work in this world, and there's a group of individuals who feel they have the right to take the rewards of your work. And those are the people we're here to fight. So if it's detrimental to doing that, I don't think it's really that libertarian. So when you have people who are saying the state needs to step in and do more, and they're shouting Black Lives Matter in the streets. The fact of the matter is, Black lives do matter, but you're preaching to the wrong choir when you say that. You're actively peeling people from a group who doesn't respect individual rights, who does want to collectivize, and who does want to basically just become the most popular, most powerful group. And that's not what libertarians are.
No. Derek, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, there's a lot of accusations to our organization, and before I just joined the New Hampshire Libertarian Party in January and got involved with my committee membership and outreach in March, and everyone that I had talked to said you'd be hard pressed to have one new member a month into the party, and we've been adding new members weekly and getting recommendations to people every single day. And we've been doing so many different outreach events. I mean, now we've got multiple events going on a week instead of once a month or once every other month. And a lot of this is done by the new people joining the party, a lot of the Mises Caucus people who want the party to have a libertarian message and to appeal towards libertarians. And there's so many people in this state alone, New Hampshire, and throughout the whole country who identify as little L libertarians, who are not in the party, and for whatever reason that they might have, are not in the party. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing outreach to them or talking to them or getting them involved. Like the Free State Project, which is in New Hampshire and is a big part of New Hampshire politics, a lot of them aren't in the Libertarian Party, even though most of them identify as libertarians. So why can't we do outreach to them? Why can't we talk to them? Why can't we get them involved? And a lot of the people who started this coup against us here in New Hampshire don't want to do any of that stuff. They don't want to get Free State Project involved. They don't want to talk to them. And even a lot of them are free staters themselves, which is crazy.
It's just so ridiculous to me. And just to be clear for everyone watching that might not live in New Hampshire, the Mises Caucus in New Hampshire drastically outnumbers the other people. Am I wrong about that? Like, proportionally, it's a pretty big part of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say the Mises Caucus is more than 50% of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire.
Well, especially if you include people like myself, who is not really a member of Mises Caucus, but is, I mean, I align with their values. I mean, after this, I'm going, well, why am I not a member of the Mises Caucus?
Yeah.
I think Derek said something about the Free State Project. I just want to be clear. The Free State Project, it has one job only, and that's to bring libertarians to the Free State. And what the libertarians do once they arrive here, that's up to them. But I think he was saying that the movers, the people who move for the Free State, they come here, they're libertarian, they're really excited. They go to the local Libertarian Party, they go, this is going to be the most libertarian. And it is so feckless and milquetoast and toothless. And so they give up. And we have so many good movers who've moved here and are now part of the Liberty Caucus of the Republican Party, because they thought, okay, Libertarian Party is just like kind of the Libertarian Party at my place. They're not going to do anything. So, and they're doing some great work. They're doing absolutely fantastic work. These are good libertarians, but they won't stay in the Libertarian Party. And frankly, I can understand that. I mean, if we had the type of leadership that we've had for all these past years, I would have nothing to do with these people. I mean, it's just they're not ethical libertarians.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen more than one person saying in the past, 12 hours or so since this letter was released that they are going to be joining the Mises Caucus. Here's another example. Justin O'Donnell, I have never joined or donated to a caucus officially before during my involvement with the National Party, but after the corrupt actions of the National Chair and his support of the fraudulent and corrupt acts by the chair of the LPNH, tonight I officially joined and donated to the Mises Caucus. So, Dennis, you're up next.
Well, it's funny because my wife has been, I mentioned it like 38 years ago. First time I go to a Libertarian Party meeting, she goes with me, and she never wanted to go back. I think I dragged her back to one more meeting or something like that, but she despised it. I dragged her back when I wanted her vote to make me a delegate for the 1988 National Convention, at which I voted against Ron Paul. So there you go. Like, you guys are Ron Paul people. I voted against them. Okay, Jesus. I'm
still voting for him.
But she has been in 1988. I voted against him. But she has been so fascinated by this and so excited by the energy. And she's going, I want to join the Libertarian Party. I want to join the Mises Caucus. And I'm watching her. I mean, there have been these videos lately about what's going on, and she's watching it, and she's going, "This is better than like a TV drama. This is like absolutely fascinating." And it's a little bit discouraging to the people I think who've come here early, but to someone like her who's seen how miserable, how poor the Libertarian Party has done over the years. And has seen like this gigantic uptick, so you have flat line, and then all of a sudden, whoop, and she's going, this is fantastic. And now she's seen the reaction, and I'm sorry that they have no case. There's nothing that they can possibly do to disaffiliate the New Hampshire Libertarian Party and to give it to this no-name group who that isn't even a group. By their own bylaws, you have to have pledged and been a member of their group for 2 years before you can vote. So they have no voting members to actually vote at a convention. They aren't even a group. They can't possibly be a group by the bylaws that they have actually introduced. So it's that Saturday night special, just wonked together.
It's a private club, Dennis. It's a private club, okay?
And they want the Libertarian Party to be.
And
I'm not interested in a private club. We already have a great club. We have a number of good Libertarian clubs in New Hampshire. Come up to New Hampshire, visit us at our different Libertarian clubs. None of them are the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party should be an outreach vehicle, should be communicating and trumpeting libertarian principles in direct contradiction to the authoritarians. And if we're not doing that, there's no point at all for a Libertarian Party, and there's no point for me to be supporting the Libertarian Party. I've only been excited because all of a sudden we're actually pushing libertarian ideas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Dennis. And you know, these individuals that created this club, and they want the entirety of the Libertarian Party to remain a social club. These are the people who don't want us doing outreach, don't want us meeting with free staters or Republicans or Democrats who identify as little L's, who follow the libertarian beliefs and who are anti-totalitarian. And they just don't want us talking to these people. They want us to just be this little tiny social club where they have power, and you know, they're the big fish in the small pond.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and this reminds me of honestly the very reason I ended up leaving the Republican Party like 5 minutes after I joined it, because as soon as I joined the Republican Party, I was told left, right, and center, you're not wanted here, get out. And basically them sending the message to like all the walkaway people for like me that joined during 2020, they were like, deuces, you're not welcome here anymore. We want to go back to our conservative Christian values. And I was like, well, fine, if I'm not wanted, I will leave. But like what's so like ridiculous to me about this whole thing, basically what I experienced in the Republican Party and now what I'm seeing with the Libertarian National Party here, and how they're, or at least I shouldn't put it on all of them, how Joe Bishop Henchman is responding to this whole thing. I'm like, do you people not realize that you need votes to win elections? If you ever want to win an election ever, you need to recruit people to vote for you. This is like not that hard. This is basic. And I saw this tweet last night that I thought was really funny from Aaron. His name is Bishop, servant of the cathedral, henchman, servant of a corrupt authoritarian. And you're shocked at his response. It's a fair point, isn't it?
That is a pretty clever tweet.
So, I mean, like, well, I mean, like, how have you guys been feeling about the I should say lack of response from the National Party on this whole affair, given that the National Party is really the one that controls the website that has not been given back?
No.
Well, go ahead, Dennis.
I just want to clarify, we actually have had response of members of the executive committee, and I think some very brave members of the executive committee who have been on this right from the get-go. And they went, and Karen Ann, I'm talking about you, baby. I mean, what do you want? How can I support you more? I mean, she was on this thing right from the get-go. She interviewed all the parties, and she has been on this like Columbo. And I think that she has a very, very clear handle on this. Now, there are other members of the executive committee who are putting their hands underneath their asses because they don't want this kind of changeover. They don't want a changeover of bold messaging, bold libertarian messaging, of fighting the cathedral, fighting the authoritarians, going against the authoritarian culture. So they're going to go, well, you know, maybe this will work out for us. And they're playing this political game. But I think that there have been some real heroes who've stepped up. And so anyway, I don't want to take away from the rest of the guys, but I do want to point out that, yeah, okay, Joe Bishop Henchman has not done a damn thing. He's been sitting on his hands and hoping that this totally screws up New Hampshire. I'm not 100% sure what he thinks is going to be the outcome. I mean, I know what the outcome is. I don't know what he thinks the outcome is going to be. I would clean this up as fast as I possibly could if I were he. Mm-hmm. But there have been people who are on that executive committee who have been real leaders, and that's the type of national committee that I want to see. And we are going to be going to Reno in a little bit more than a half year, and New Hampshire is going to be voting for a full slate of those types of bold leaders who can lead a libertarian party giving a libertarian message.
Excellent. Bill, what do you think?
Well, can you pull up the timeline from Ken Molman? Did you see that?
Yes. Give me
that
one
guy,
second and I can pull that up.
As well as Karen Ann has been really absolutely on top of it. And very, from what I've seen too from Ken Molman, everybody's talking about like composure or whatever. That guy knows how to comport himself. But he just goes through a timeline and a series of questions. Some of those might be good. I thought that was really good. I haven't seen these questions answered. It seems to me that there are people who are on top of this. It's just a matter of time. Unfortunately, that means that we can't, do proper outreach at Bike Week or have people sign up right online for our organization, and maybe not at Pork Fest either. The sooner the better. There are people. I'm not just going to trash the LNC, because some of them are definitely working hard for us. But some of them are actively trying to be like, whoa, we can't be too hasty. And it's like, well, there's a bunch of information here. I also want to say regarding Karen Ann, in that email, you see Joe Bishop Henchman calls Karen Ann's interviews there a kangaroo court.
Yeah, she went right back at him on that one.
Well, so I just want to say, with something like this, where it seems like the body of the party has been completely disenfranchised and had, property and assets stolen from them, seems like not a terrible idea. Just be like, hey, are you guys willing to go on record and just talk to me for a couple things real quick? And there's nothing official, but it's like, hey, are you willing to talk to me? Here's a video of you saying it. And if you want to clarify, what's so wrong with that? I just don't see, it seems to me like to get people's story or the story the day of from the people involved, it just makes sense.
There's nothing wrong with that. It was an incredibly smart move on the part of Karen Ann, and I definitely I need to meet her because she is a spitfire. I would not want to piss her off any day of the week. I'll tell you what. So here's the timeline of events that Ken sent in response to Joe Bishop Henchman's email, and this kind of aligns with the video I did yesterday. If people on the channel had a chance to watch that, but just to review for anyone who's just catching up, on June 7th. Gilletta resigned, was going to resign as the chair of the party because she was upset about angry tweets. And there have been a lot of things leading up to this, but essentially Gilletta was pissed off that the official Twitter account was sending tweets that she did not approve of. She also got this letter from Joe, authored on June 7th. Per Gilletta, Joe Bishop Henchman gave the letter as part of the plan, and he knew the plan, which is what Gilletta said in her interview the day this all happened, and that clip has been made public. On June 8th, the executive committee of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party expelled a member, Jackie Perry, for the crime of doxing Gilletta. So it was to protect Gilletta, but Gilletta used this as a way to say that all of the executive committee members had constructively resigned for breaking the bylaws.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Gilletta specifically denied that she ever considered the executive committee as resigning. So that wording, constructive resignation, neither part of that is Gilletta's. Now, Joe Bishop Henchman alleges that this was the reason why Gilletta was doing this. That has to be false. She specifically and repeatedly said that she never considered them as resigning. And I do not believe that she had ever heard this idiosyncratic term, constructive resignation. There's been somebody who's used that term, but it's not been Gilletta. She does not have that type of vocabulary. And
I know who used that term. I know.
A weird construct fabricated by a lawyerly type of person.
I just happened to be watching Karen Ann's live stream from the day of, and Karen Ann mentioned that Nick Sarwark had used that term in reference to something that happened in Oregon. Am I right about that?
I did not hear it. I've never heard anyone use constructive resignation. And if in fact that's true, that he used that there, and that supposedly the chair of the NHLP used that, and then she denies it. I mean, I don't see how this isn't proof that there is a cabal, that there is a cabal with the previous LNC chair and with the current LNC chair. They are friends and allies. Nick supported Joe in his chairmanship against a Mises person, by the way. I think that this is something where we see two power players, and I feel as though Gilletta didn't realize that she was being used.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get through our timeline here. So Jackie was expelled from the party on June 9th. The new LPNH political committee filed for campaign finance per the Secretary of State. And that's the date that I had too on the paperwork, which is why I wasn't sure that JBH's initial letter was actually referring to that, because Gilletta formed her new political party on June 9th. On June 11th, March, LPNH XCOM members informed that the website work was going to happen. And also on June 11th, Gilletta Carpenter files new entry per Gilletta. Also on June 11th, June committee begins logging into the CRM. On June 12th, the March faction access was removed from the website. JBH called Gilletta to create a new statement per Gilletta, and the LPNH website updated with new bylaws. So
and she posted that she formed a new group that the LNC chair recognized as valid using the letter of support on the LPNH page.
Yeah,
which seems to be a contradiction in and of itself, right there.
Well, and what's not denoted in this specifically, and I think that this is really important for people to understand, the LNC has not disaffiliated from the actual Libertarian Party. Just because Gilletta formed a new party does not mean the party follows her to whatever new organization that she's founded.
Unless we were a tyranny, which I think libertarians are generally against. I don't know. I may have to check on that.
Like, was Gilletta the queen of the Libertarian Party? Is that how that worked? Because that's the only way that this new thing would actually be recognized.
Well, there's that. We have not been disaffiliated, which requires 3/4 vote of the LNC, right? And also, the LNC rules state that there can only be one affiliate per state. So if we haven't been affiliated, then hers can't also be affiliated.
So given that we are still the affiliate for the state, that has not changed, why isn't the National Committee giving our website back?
Really? Why is the national chair not saying we have an affiliate? It is the New Hampshire Libertarian Party with these executive committees, with these members, and this other group. I'm sorry, I don't know who they are. They're not at all related to the National Libertarian Party or to the Libertarian Party at all.
Right.
So I mean, they've got to say that, and all of a sudden, Gilletta says that she'll give us our property back as soon as Joe Bishop Henchman says it's okay. Joe Bishop Henchman won't say it's okay. It's okay to give us our property back. Give us our property back.
And Joe Bishop Henchman is not the authority that should be making that decision either.
No, but Gilletta thinks he is. Gilletta has no regard whatsoever for bylaws, no regard for process, isn't principled. And this, it's so funny because the Mises Caucus is accused all the time of hostile takeover, a hostile takeover. You know how it's a hostile takeover? They brought in a lot of new members who are really excited about the libertarian message. And they brought those in, and then they went to convention, and then they voted. And they voted for more libertarianism. And now all of a sudden, there's Mises Caucus in the executive committee. The old guard isn't in there. And they're going, this is a hostile takeover. So what do? They actually executed a hostile takeover. They break the bylaws. They break their own rules. They steal property. And now all of a sudden, there was a hostile takeover. Joe Bishop Henchman is really concerned about a hostile takeover. That's what he says he's really concerned about. Please.
It's such projection. It's absolute and total projection. Derek, I think you're about to say something.
Oh no, this whole hostile takeover thing. I mean, we brought people in. They met all the requirements to vote and become delegates at convention, right? They did what we did, and we brought new Mises members in all by the bylaws, and we've all been following the bylaws and the rules established at convention. So I don't see anything hostile about that.
Okay, I'm going to ask a dumb question. Again, I'm going to plead that I'm a newbie. Is this all because Nick Sarwark lost to no one in his run for state treasurer at that convention? Is this all retribution for that?
I don't think so. And I want to say I'm gonna go out on a limb here and tacitly defend Nick Sarwark. Not that I am a big fan of the guy, but I will say I have seen no proof
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, but then, like, if he's not, more people look dumb later. It just seems like there's enough going wrong here that we do know to try to, like, be like, oh, this is all Nick Sarwark's doing. Is like, I feel like we've created like a supervillain for ourselves or something. And I don't know that he actually is that. It seems to me, and I could be wrong, this guy, and again, I don't know. There's somebody who is the treasurer, the new treasurer, who claims to have some experience, like, running organizations. That George Carpenter guy. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he reached out to Gilletta or something. I don't know. All I'm saying is I don't think it's fair for a whole mob to just be like, oh, Nick Sarwark's the arch villain behind this whole thing. I think it gets silly. And there's other players who could have done something like that. And you know what? It is weird about the what is the word? Constructive resignation. Okay, I can't lie, but it seems circumstantial. And I have no doubt there'll be more information that comes out about this in the future. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to tacitly just be like, let's not make Nick our supervillain, because I don't think that that's helpful. When there's enough going wrong that clearly is wrong that we can definitely pin down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know Nick Sarwark at all. I've never met him. I've heard that there's been a lot of issues with him, with a lot of members, but I think as libertarians, we all agree innocent until proven guilty. So there's nothing saying that he was involved in this at all. I do think that there should be some sort of investigation to figure out, who are these people undermining the Libertarian Party? And that's exactly what this is. I mean, this is almost a division, intentionally maybe, to destroy the Libertarian Party and to create these schisms and to create this conflict. And it's not okay. And it definitely doesn't help new members joining when they see all this internal conflict going on. So, I mean, those involved, I mean, we should find out who it was, but unless that we know, right, unless they're proven guilty, then, assumed innocent.
Well, those are two very reasonable statements from people who Joe Bishop Henchman seems to think are evil.
Oh, well, I mean, no, you can listen. I'm not defending Joe Bishop Henchman, by the way. I just happen to be defending Nick Sarwark this time.
No, but
give Joe Bishop Henchman whatever crap you want for this. He's declared himself basically like, I am in control of whether LPNH is affiliated or not, but I won't tell you whether I am, like what I think it is. Like, I'm not. That's not cool.
No, and I didn't think you were, but I just think it's a little ironic that the two of you are being more reasonable in this situation than, frankly, the LNC chair is being when he's tacitly endorsing theft of the party website.
Yeah, well, he even said, man, it's the things that he says in that email. If you draw from one point to another, and you don't take them as like separate pieces of information, where he's talking about like, the schism, people saw it was coming. These people are evil. What should we do? I sympathize. I support the people who are against these people. It's like, that's not, I mean, he pretty much came out and said that he is on the side of the small minority of the people in New Hampshire who I guess are the new LPNH or the fake LPNH.
He did. He came out and said he's against half the party. Go ahead, Derek.
I'm just saying he's just been silent, with the exception of on the LNC business list right there. I mean, he's been completely silent most of the time, with the exception of some really big letter drops and telling people that we shouldn't be picking a side. Well, you did pick a side. You publicly stated that you pick a side.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to just look at some of the evidence that Gilletta has submitted for some of her claims. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Joe Bishop Henchman specifically referenced it in the letter. And one of the more disturbing claims that has been made is that violent threats have been made against Gilletta. Well, we have evidence that Gilletta has submitted, and this is the only thing I can find that would constitute a violent threat, which was a tweet. It was a tweet. It was Jeremy talking about what was happening on Twitter, and then Peter retweeting him and saying, "Go into the next meeting armed and take it back. End of fucking story." And apparently that is the only evidence that Joletta has submitted of threats of violence against her. Does this constitute a threat of violence?
And to be clear, Peter is not a New Hampshire resident. He is not a Libertarian Party of New Hampshire member. He may be a Libertarian Party member, but he's not even here. So he's looking at this from way across the states, and he's saying, look, you have been violated. Your property has been taken, right? Libertarians are not against violence in terms of restorative justice. So here we have something where violence was actually initiated against us, and we need to defend ourselves. I think is what Peter's point is. I don't want to say what his point is. But
I don't even think he means that. Listen, we're in New Hampshire. To go to an event in New Hampshire for 50% of people is to go to an event armed. So to go to an event armed and take it back could literally just mean go to your event and vote in New Hampshire. I don't think. Also, nobody's just going to go start. That's so ridiculous. Yes, the Libertarian Party. We're gonna have an armed hostile takeover of a convention, a political convention. No. I mean, it's ridiculous. The claims are being put against people like me and Derek and Dennis, who have no intention of hurting anybody, who have no intention of doing anything crazy. We're like secret Republican, evil, violent people who want to hurt people. No, it's nothing like that. We want to be able to grow the Libertarian Party, to spread messages of liberty that aren't pandering to people who are interested in joining and making the state freer, making the country freer if we possibly can. Let's do it.
I mean, basically, if you think about it, I'm sitting at my home and someone comes and they steal my TV and my radio and all that type of stuff. And now, in a state society, I send a cop armed to take it back, right? Mm-hmm. But where's the crime? Is the crime sending the cop to take our stuff back, or is the crime the actual theft? And Joe Bishop Henchman is ignoring the originating crime of the theft of our property, the violation of our members, and the violation of our rights under our bylaws, and our affiliation agreement with the National Party.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing that was brought up is that the New Hampshire Libertarian Party was thinking about endorsing Republicans and not running people in races. And so the other piece of evidence I want to bring up here is Stephen, who apparently Stephen is the shadow leader of the Mises Caucus in New Hampshire, which I know that he was shocked to discover per Joletta.
He's not even Mises. He's not even Mises. He's kind of like me. He's been a Libertarian Party member for a long time. He's seen like all this energy. He's going, oh, what's that? But he's not Mises.
No. But Stephen apparently posted on Facebook one day, the word on the grapevine is that not only is Sununu not going to run for governor, which is true, he's going to run for Senate, but a halfway decent Liberty Republican will be stepping up to the plate. As someone who wants the most liberty in our state, I would like the LPNH to not endorse any governor candidate at all. So apparently Stephen's Facebook post was submitted as evidence that the party is planning on endorsing Republicans.
And if you see, they mistitled that photo there. The title was supposed to say shadow leader. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And then if you look at the rest of that post too, it's like that one comment taken out of context. The rest of that post was a bunch of people being like, I don't know. Who is it? Like, what's the deal? What do they stand for? I think, people were saying, I think we should run something. There's a whole debate there. They take one comment out of context from a private group and say these people are, and like from a private group of all members of the LPNH, not like a super private, like shadow group, like the people who are making a 13-person cabal with JBH to take over. And I don't know if JBH explicitly did know the plan, but just the things that he said are, I guess they're a little bit damning, at least. At very least, not responding is damning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'll say not running a Libertarian Party candidate against a Liberty Republican or Liberty Democrat, if that happens, is a sound strategy that has been proposed by other Libertarian Party members. This isn't something new that we just thought of at some moment. Like, this is an actual strategy that has been talked about for years.
And you have to pick, and we have, we won't be the first people to mention this, I'm sure. We have in New Hampshire, oh, well, no, Dennis said this earlier. We have the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, a bunch of libertarians who moved to New Hampshire to be libertarians.
Good libertarians.
Good libertarians who moved to New Hampshire to be libertarians and didn't want to join the party in its state. And so, because of what they saw. And so they joined the Republicans, and there's been a ton of them. It'd be nice to maybe like get, if we can not compete with them for a race for the governor or something, not peel off 2 or 3%, whatever that is. Maybe there's a district where they're thinking about running somebody, or they can give us, at least not like running a Republican in a district where they were thinking about it, but to give the Mises Caucus something. It's like, this is something where we can make single issue coalitions. This is something the Mises Caucus cares about. And we can do this. I don't care if that's like Liberty and Grafton County. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's fine with me. If that's the single issue you have to ally on, that's fine. If it's like having the most libertarian governor that we can get elected, that's fine with me. Then we won't do something to actively thwart that. We can work together without actually like compromising our own organizations. I can say there's a bunch of really good Liberty Republicans in New Hampshire who I have met. I'm always trying to get them to join the Mises Caucus every time I see them. But that doesn't mean that I have to try to sabotage their effort to get a really good, NHLA person up there. And I think we can work together to get the most Liberty people elected in the state. That seems to be the best strategy. Not like, well, we have to have ours or you have to have yours. And there's a lot of positions that people can run for here. If people are even willing and able to run, there's only so many people in the party who are willing and able to actually commit the time to a political campaign. It's a big commitment here. You gotta be strategic.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Dennis.
I just want to say I was really disappointed with that particular piece of evidence, because I was all over that suggestion. Now, I have no formal role in the LPNH. I have I'm not a member of the Mises Caucus, but, I am a startup guy. And the question has to come, how does a small insurgent group beat two large behemoths? Now, imagine you're outnumbered 100 to 1 and there's 1,000 castles, right? So the current Libertarian Party strategy, at least in New Hampshire, has been, okay, everyone run one person against each castle that has 100 people, and all at the same time. And they're totally wiped out because you have 100 to 1 odds. Now, this strategy says, no, let's marshal our resources, bring all 1,000 of us together and attack one castle. And now we at least get one castle and a toehold. And that's a guerrilla strategy. That's how we do startups against entrenched competition. I don't even understand how that's not a legitimate conversation. And I totally support it. And I think that this demonstrates, is our goal liberty or is our goal party? And I think there are way too many people in the Libertarian Party whose goal is only party, where we should be only about liberty. How can we maximize human liberty? How can we free the most people? That should be our focus. And if I was saying the other day, if by disbanding the Libertarian Party, we could assure that we would have total freedom, would we do it? I'm going, yeah, immediately. I don't think these guys would.
No. Well, Dennis, we do have a super chat just for you from Reasonability. Hi, good morning, Carlin. Dennis, what is the symbolism you have on the wall behind you? Also, mount that like button if you haven't already. Dennis, what is the symbols that you have on the wall there? The people are curious.
Oh, that's my life symbol. I did a lot of personal growth, and one of them was like a 6-month program, a kind of advanced one, and you had to make a symbol about what your life is about. So my underpinning is always peace. Both individual peace and peaceful relationships around everyone. So I think that as a bedrock. The second part is love, and it's not like sexual love. It's more like love of people and allowing them to be themselves. So it's a kind of appreciation and tolerance. And the top part that holds everything together, in my view, is the symbol for voluntarism. And what voluntarism is, it's a subgroup within libertarianism, but it basically says that all relationships between humans should be voluntary, that there should not be a coercive relationship. So someone shouldn't be the slave master and someone else be the slave. So I believe that voluntarism is necessary both for that type of love, because without that type of love, without voluntary love is just rape, right? Without voluntary, peace is just a penal colony. So you absolutely must have voluntarism in order to have love and in order to have peace.
Well, I love it. Well, I mean, to me, to kind of like wrap up the conversation here today, I just think the whole thing is so incredibly ironic, because it seems as though the people who are saying there is this evil faction within our party that is trying to take it over and that refuses to work with anyone, they're the ones that are actually refusing to work with anyone. I mean, this was a group of people that was duly elected at the convention in March. They followed every single process. They followed the bylaws. And now the people who are upset about the results of the election are actively sabotaging all of their efforts and saying that they're the ones that refuse to work with them. Well, no, that's not true. You guys are refusing to work with us. Am I wrong about that?
Nope. You're correct. You're correct. I'll tell you, I have met in person some of the people who are, on this organization, specifically one woman who's a part of this new organization. She sits on the board. And when she met me, she told me that she assumed that I was racist until she knew me well enough to know that I wasn't racist.
Wow.
And I'm simply, it's like, that's such a terrible way to deal with people. And, I could easily have been like, oh, I assume that you're racist until I know that you're not racist. There we go. How about that? We're just a couple of racists not getting to know each other because we assume that each other are racist. That's stupid. But I'm just not going to defend myself to such ridiculous, unsubstantiated claims. Once it goes like a national issue like this, I feel like I have to go on. If somebody's going to have a show, thank you for inviting me on. I'm here to stick up for the character, the integrity of the people involved in the organization. They're not what they're being like pitched as by some people who would like us to be smeared. They're just regular people here, regular libertarians who want the Libertarian Party to be libertarians. And it's very remarkable to me to see people who've treated me personally so hostilely then talk about how hostile we are and then take an organizational hostile move. Like, all right, if that's what it is, everybody's just showing the true colors. And it's crazy to me. This has gone to the chair of the national party. We'll see what comes of all this. It's a mess.
Yeah, I agree. Derek, what are your final thoughts on the whole situation?
I mean, this is just insane. And yeah, I mean, I've had some interactions with the people who, I've met Gilletta, I've met some of these individuals, or I've communicated them with online, and it's they just want to keep their club. They got voted out of their little club, and now they want it back, and they see us trying to grow this club and to include more people into it, and to build something better, and they just want to maintain the status quo.
And Dennis, what about you? Final thoughts?
Oh, I have so many. I think I guess I'm going to diverge a little bit from Derek in that I think that the underlying problem here isn't just a clubbiness and wanting their club. I think that that's true. I think there's ego problem. I think that there's a lot of issues here that we could bring up. I think the underlying sin, though, is not focusing on the violence and people hurting each other and attacking each other, and instead focusing on quote unquote bigotry. I think that's where the Libertarian Party went off the rails. Bigotry, which is an attitude or a belief. We believe in self-ownership. That's what we believe in. We believe in self-ownership. What's in your mind is in your mind. And to say, oh, well, you can't have these thoughts in your mind. I'm sorry, it's your mind. And to have the SJWs come into the Libertarian Party, add that to their national platform, and now Gilletta wants us to swear by it, says that we hold what people think in their minds as somehow more important than ending violence against other human beings. And I'm sorry, we have got to end the violence. Yes, I'm actually one of these more tolerant than most people. And I tell you, these SJWs and the Libertarian Party, they're not tolerant at all. They're not open. They're not loving. And talk about lack of integrity. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible. But yet they want to sit in judgment with everybody and say, "Oh, Bill is a racist." Unless he proves to me otherwise, he has to bend over backwards to prove to me. Otherwise, he's not worthy. Well, I say, does he believe in self-ownership? Is he willing to help the little guy who's being trampled? And I don't care who that little guy is. Is he willing to help that little guy and defend them? Because that's what we are. We're the Libertarian Party, and we defend the little guys who are being trampled, especially by the state, with their violent apparatus. And that's what we should be about, laser focused. No one else is doing it. Everyone else is doing this SJW stuff. Let them do that. We need to be about ending the violence.
Well, I was laughing there. I agree with everything you said, Dennis. I was laughing because Matt super chatted in. You need to see the email Joshua Smith just sent to the LNC unilaterally firing everyone.
That guy is great.
So that'll be the next thing I think we all go look for after we get done with this stream. Like, what's going on now?
I can read it right now.
You do? Is it on that New Hampshire thread?
No, it's in a new thread, but I've got it right here if you want me to read it.
Yeah, well, you can share the screen if you want. Can you share, or do you have it someplace you can share?
Yeah. Here, how do I?
There's a share down at the bottom of the.
Oh, yep. Share right there. Share screen.
Oh, I see it now.
Oh, you got it? You can just pull it up.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, hang on. It took a second to load it. Let's see. I'm unhappy with some of you on the NLC that the delegates voted in, so I'm going to go ahead and unilaterally fire most of you, rewrite all the bylaws, and deem myself chair for the next 4 years. I'm sure you guys will argue about it for a while, but likely my 4-year term will be up by then. If you want to join my LP, sign this pledge that I just created out of thin air. Glad to be the new chair of a completely imaginary LNC, and I appreciate your time.
And the difference is he did not abscond. He did not embezzle, right? He did this as a joke and he just set it up, but he forgot the most important part, right? The most important part is that the cabal that attacked the LPNC, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, embezzled. And that's the part that we're really upset about.
Guys, there's more news.
Oh no. What else? No.
A new message that says, please forward this letter to the public LNC list. This is from Brian Shields, I guess. Hello, members of the LNC. On June 12th, the following people signed a letter supporting the Republican sympathizer infiltrators of LPNH in support of the recall of Chair Joletta Jarvis. The dates of their LPNH memberships are as follows. By the way, I'm on this list. Dr. Joshua Olitsky is on this list. Sean Dempsey's on this list. Dennis, you're on this list. Derek, I don't see you on here, man. What's up, dude?
Wasn't that for the recall of Joletta?
Yeah. And it says
you had to have been a delegate at the March convention, which I was not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My name would be if I had joined sooner. So,
how can it not be having your stuff stolen by a person and say, no, I'm sorry, she does not represent me.
Right. Oh, I see Seth has actually joined the stream for the last moment. Seth, you want to come on and say a few words? Hello. Oh, you're muted. Hey, Seth. We're just wrapping up. And anything you want to add to any thoughts you want to put out there? Oh.
No, I was just trying to jump on a little minute ago. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
The issue, for me, one of the biggest issues that seems to be getting put on the back burner is the fact that Joletta and the chair have turned over personal and financial and employment information to a new entity that no one consented to. Which this isn't just like party politics and people getting like upset with each other. Those are felonies, like actual felonies, punishable by like 10 plus years in jail. Like these aren't like this isn't a little inter-party debate at this point. Like, she stole our financial information. This is like no longer a joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a point that you, I think, brought up in your letter to the LNC as well, that like we have to notify people of it. Oh, we lost him. But like the point that Seth brought up is like we have to actually notify people of a data breach. That's a legal requirement. And we can't do that right now because the LNC won't give us back our website.
Yeah, it's rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough. I think I want to say before we do end this to the general public, the body of the LPNH is pressing on. We're having PorkFest next week. You know, like that's not a LPNH thing, but most of the active members are going to be there. I think the Bike Week outreach is still happening. You know, we're still doing it. The remaining members on the committees, you know, I'm on the Communications Committee. We're having a meeting tomorrow. I believe the XCOM is still meeting. Pretty much everyone's still doing their thing. We have been, you know, compromised a little bit as far as like what do we have for tools to work with, but we're just going to press forward. You know, we're still the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. You know, and I guess there's some new thing out there, but
I'd like to speak on that, Bill. PorkFest, the membership and outreach committee are printing out printed membership forms, so we may not have access to the website, but you can still join, and once this is all resolved, we'll get you in. So everything will be able to be done on paper.
Yeah. And I do just want to make sure that I point out that if you want to follow along, we do actually have a Twitter account up and running. It may not be the Twitter account, but the Mises Caucus of New Hampshire has donated their Twitter account for the official LPNH Executive Committee communication. So things are still mostly like running behind the scenes. It's just drama in the midst of it.
Yep. It's all going to work out.
It's all going to be fine. But you know, I honestly, I find this whole situation so fascinating. I cannot get enough of it. I want to follow every single update, and it's being very distracting for things that I actually need to get done, but it is what it is. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining me today to shed a little bit more light on this situation. I appreciate each of you. Folks, if you, this is not actually the last time I'll be talking about this today, because I do have a stream with Joshua later in which I will be asking a psychic to predict whether or not Nick Sarwark had any involvement in this entire affair. These guys thought I was joking about that, but I'm not. So Joshua and I will be talking about this later on tonight. I also have been receiving updates from State Representative Keith Ammon about HB 544 in New Hampshire, and basically the update is the New Hampshire Senate fucked us. And there's more drama related to that, but hey, yet another reason that I left the Republican Party, because they actually support critical race theory. All right, guys, I will keep you updated as I know more. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see some of you at 9:30 tonight. All right, bye.